Okay, Oscar, thanks very much for coming along doing an interview. You're playing in the Borough Hall on Friday, the 19th of December. We're absolutely buzzing to have you along. We thought we'd do this interview. Obviously, you've seen the one with Harry, and we wanted to get your take on what had happened in the scene, how you'd got to where you are today, and obviously that leads on to playing for us in the Borough Hall. So let's kick things off. How did you first get into music and DJing in Glasgow?
Well, I think being brought up surrounded the music, and then that kind of graduated to when I was of a certain age where I was doing house parties. You start off, you select the music, you put them in the tapes, you control what was coming out of the speakers, and then that just kind of picked up into where you're thinking, we could take this out and can put it into, a space. By the way, if I say, if forever I say I'm going to buy people a shot and it can be a
You're
very
going to get us
expensive,
drunk then, are you saying
very,
that?
very expensive night. There you go. That's another
There you
one.
go.
The bells just rang.
Yeah.
So going into the club, I think it was the one of the first nights was in Reds, and we put this kind of corrugated chicken wire around the DJ box and spray painted it. And after that, the sub club had asked me if I wanted to do this Thursday night, and so I went down there. So that's how it really started. It started in house parties, Reds, and then into the sub club.
Yeah. And that was that pre-subculture that you were in
Yes, it
there
was. Yes,
before,
it
yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah.
Because the Saturday night that was existing at that time was Atlantis,
Yeah.
and that was the big flagship night, and that was it. And most people congregated there, but there was all these little um, nights that were growing out
Yeah.
with that. There would
Yeah.
have been a kind of ripple effect of what was going on. And that, the nights that I was doing were included in that. So it was a Thursday and a Sunday. So it started to pick up.
And what was the scene like? That was just on the cusp of everything kind of blowing up in dance music. What was the feeling like back then? Did you have that sense that something big was coming?
Oh yeah, well so Atlantis had already gone, had been going a couple of years, and then Slam did one of these big events, in another one, into the Glasgow Green, and it was just building. It was an energy building. Pete Tong was a really respected show, and they had the music. But when these promos come out, they were like 6, 7 weeks before a mere mortal could get them.
Yeah,
So there was this exclusivity of hearing a track that one couldn't get their hands on, that the DJs could only really get their hands on, and that's where you had train spotters and the
yeah,
things that.
yeah. And when you wanted to hear that track again, you would have to go back to that night, the following week to
Correct.
to hear it.
To
Love
get
that.
that excitement.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I guess if we stick with the sub club, it's such a special place, that it's such a special environment. Was it always like that from the beginning? Did you just feel when you were walking down those stairs, this was it?
Yes, I think it was a holy grail to get behind the decks.
Yeah,
You were not allowed behind there if you didn't pass a certain kind of quality check kind of
yeah,
thing,
yeah,
and that was it. So even with the first time being offered a Thursday, I immediately said yes because that was you being, becoming part of the family, and it was
yeah,
such a great bunch of people that were running it.
yeah,
Brian Mullen was there. It's been about 20 years or something. So it
yeah,
was just a real family. And then when Tony took it over, yeah, it was just magic.
yeah, yeah. And so leading on to the subculture. nights. How did that come about? How did the partnership with Harry and Dominic, I think, was there as well at that point? How did that come about?
Well, prior to that, I had gone to Los Angeles and um, I was coming, I was best part of 2 years there. But I was coming back and forth. And when I was coming back, I was doing a lot of gigs when I was coming back, and I was bringing a lot of music that perhaps wasn't, accessible here. I was part of in a DJ pool that included a lot of really big DJs, and I was getting really good music. So I was able to come in to the city and have certain, again, we're talking about that exclusivity and certain
Yeah,
big.
yeah,
Um, so that was good. So the nights that I was doing when I was coming back were quite successful, or my guest experiences were quite successful, and I was going back and forth, and then one day, there's a couple of factors that happened. Tony McCrimmon, who's a dear friend, and he's no longer with us, and he got in touch and said, would you like to come back and be the resident with Harry? And I don't know who the other person was at the time. But of course, I had so much respect, and we formed a friendship prior to that, and many nights, spent up listening to music and things like that. So it was just a natural yes, no matter what I was doing. Sub Club, still is top 20 clubs in the world, and no
yeah,
matter what you're doing, it's still up there. And I keep an close eye on what's going on, and it's the respect it has all over the world
yeah,
and it's only grown.
yeah. So those subculture nights, what was the vision for that?
I suppose we all had different elements we brought to it. Dominic was definitely more Detroit. I suppose I was more New York, and Harry was probably the link between that, and it made it all come together for a period of time. And we all had a certain type of style. Probably more geared towards being similar to Harry than Dominic, but it worked. It worked for we got off to a real flyer. I mean, the first night was quite daunting. There wasn't I don't think there was any PR done. It was basically you're starting, and there was some people coming down that knew that we were going to be there, but I was going to
Yeah,
be there. I mean, I think it was just myself and I think Harry that night, and it's just going to be yeah. So just that thing, but quite quickly because a lot of people got behind it. Paul Crawford, who's a big such had a predominant impact in Glasgow as well. He was part of the PR team and everything then, but they went out and just gathered it up, and I think within 1 month there was a queue around the block,
right.
which was just crazy.
Yeah,
It was just crazy, and it was a really, yeah, really kind of special time. And then
yeah,
so just parallel to that, because I'd been in Los Angeles, and you know I put on this guy, he's Danny Tenaglia, and he's quite an unassuming chap. He went behind the decks. We'd taken over this place in Hollywood, and it was only about 80 or 90 there, but he was amazing. But in walked through the door of this place. I don't know how she found out about it, but it was Kelly Cooper Bar. And she came in, and it was amazing seeing her and all that. And she came in and she had an amazing night. And then when we came back, the Tribal America tour was starting, and I tried to persuade the guys on Saturday night to take him. They wouldn't take him,
right.
and I managed to say to Colin, it was Kelly just said, "Oh, you're taking this guy," and he came
Yeah,
in. He came in, and other DJs, found out about it, and that was the night that kick-started the Voodoo Room. So Harry and I did the Voodoo Room
right.
on at the same time as we were doing Subculture, and both of them were jam-packed,
Yeah,
and that was just that. So I mean, it just felt it was such a big scene, and it just felt that every gig you were going into, there was loads of people there, and that's
yeah,
what it was.
yeah.
It felt amazing.
Yeah, the wife and I, that was the last time we were in the sub club. We saw Dan and Tenaglia, and he had such an affinity for Glasgow. He spoke about it at the end and how he loved it. And I think there was a pre-gig interview, and that was all because of you, really, because you brought him there at that time when he was an unknown here.
Yeah, I got one of the things loveliest things I've got a framed record from the tribal tour, and it was a lovely message on it. And he did a remix for something that I'd been involved in as well. Stayed in touch, but then I tried to book him like a year later. But I was doing something, and I called up his manager, and I think it was Kevin, and I don't know if he's still the manager. And he said, Oscar, these prices gone up a little bit because I think it was like £400. I mean, I hope he didn't mind me saying this, but it went from £400 to 15,000.
Yeah,
But no, it's a little bit out of my budget now, But good luck to him. And he deserved
it
it.
would have been worth it. It would have been worth it, eh?
The thing is, there was a lot of DJs there, and we were like, what's that he's playing? And it was like a hybrid. He was taking records that you would never have thought of, but the way he was blending them
Yeah,
was his special quality was that how he could mix tracks together that were and just create a new one. I mean, I know it sounds crazy because everybody does that now, but
yeah.
in the sense that
He
you
was.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And was there other guests that you brought to Glasgow? Was there other DJs that you brought to Glasgow that you think back and now and think, yeah, that was amazing?
yeah. But well, the Sunday night before I got to the sub club, I had DJ Pierre, who was a massive,
Wow.
yeah, that was all the wild pitch.
Yeah,
All the DJs played wild pitch, kind of stuff, and I really enjoyed that. I had a fantastic relationship with Andy Weatherall. Used to come and do stuff, and I remember Michael Kilkie and Michael, who does
yeah,
did it. So Michael used to live with Harry, and we were all friends. And Michael was the chief guy and one of the chief guys in 23rd Precinct. We used to get music. Anyway, we were going, right, do you want to go record shopping? We'll go to London. So him and I jumped on the sleeper, but except it wasn't the sleeper. We took the cheap seats on the ones there.
yeah,
And we went down and I think we got a hotel in like Kensington, and then we headed to Soho, and Andy met us there. And I'll always remember it. He just took maybe 5 hours out of his time, took us all round Soho when it used to be every third shop or fourth shop was a
yeah,
record,
yeah,
and spent that time. And I never ever forgot how kind he was. And I think anybody that's ever given a tribute to him is the humility of the guy and
yeah,
what an impact he was. And he made a big part of because I think the first time I heard him was at Atlantis, and I remember him playing Generate Power, and Generate Power goes on for 9 minutes and
right.
not being bored, and
Yes, yeah,
it
yeah,
just again goosebumps actually just even thinking
yeah,
about it.
yeah.
And he would go, he came and played for us, me, and on a Sunday night, and we had him a few times. And so I always loved it when he came because you just didn't know what you were going to get.
Yeah,
He was an artist,
yeah,
and he would just take you on a journey. I
yeah,
think that was the biggie. But then I had, well, for Glasgow, definitely that was it. When I went on to do certain things in London later on, I had a few interesting guests that I
yeah.
brought there.
Let's move on to that. So, what made you decide to leave Glasgow and explore those opportunities beyond subculture?
Well, I think it was just it was just the right time. I think that music goes through periods where it's right for one person, maybe not right for another person. And I think when there's three people, there's always going to be always going to be in tandem. So doing Mish Mash was something I always wanted to do. So I have a fantastic relationship with the boys and the sub club. So Mish Mash was something that I really could get my teeth into in the sense of it was myself. I controlled everything about it from the PR to the venue to the sound system to the press to the DJing to everything about it. and that kind of suited me in the sense that having that autonomy really of
Yeah,
just yeah,
yeah,
of just being able to decide what I was going to do, and I particularly liked DJing for 5 hours, longer sets.
yeah,
Um, and but that didn't start just like that though. It started when I took over the Ceilidh Club and the Riverside, and it started with 50, 60, 70, and then within a year it was packed. It was
yeah.
full, and I think that was
And
really
that was the
quite.
Ceilidh club where there was an actual Ceilidh. It
It was actually
stopped,
Ceilidh, yeah.
and then you guys came on, or you came
That's
on.
right. That's right. And I had Norden, Devon, and Ian. So there was a lot of percussion, and Norden was, an MC. And it gets a lot of bad rap, the MC, but he was amazing,
Yeah,
when he used to and we used to go through all the genres, and it would
yeah,
be linked. And I think I remember my dear friend Paul saying to me, he said, he laughed at me the first night when I showed him what was it. He just turned around. He said, "If you pull this off," I said, I'm going to." And it became very, very popular, and a lot of people subsequently went into it as well. But it was a cracking space. It had a 3 o'clock license. It was just near Clydeside, so it was just a hop and a skip round from the sub club. So Uni Money's was just round the corner, so it
yeah,
wasn't as if I'd picked something way in the middle of nowhere, but it certainly was unconventional. I think
yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix came in there one night.
Brilliant. And Mish Mash reached a wider audience with the track Speechless.
Yeah.
How did it feel to take a kind of, I guess, a step into the mainstream limelight?
Well, it wasn't intended like that because the Lois, the chap that I did it with, Casper Winding, he was a classical musician and an artist from Denmark, and he was working with an R&B artist, and he played me our voice, and I said we should do a Studio 54 disco track like that. And he said, right, let's do it. And it built up for about 8 minutes. It was like an 8 minute track. It came out, and it certainly wasn't banging. It was more about the build and the strings, and then just her voice, and the crescendos and things like that. It was definitely not like that. And in fact, the reason it got picked up was because I had a remix for cross. I did a remix for a band, and it was on the same CD at the time as Juan McLean, and I got a call. Jan had said, "Look, Crosstown Rebels have heard your mix and want to put it on at the end of their first compilation album." I said, "Brilliant, let's do it." And then Damien said, "Do you have anything else?" And I had Speechless, and it sat on my laptop for about a year. And he took it, but he took it all around the world. He did an amazing job with it, and it got played in the underground, and then got played and other things. It was only when Ministry picked it up that
Yeah,
it started to, well, Pete Tong made it essential new tune, which was amazing at the time, and that was a real buzz because that really meant something at that time, and it immediately meant that a major was going to come in and take it further. But you get to see there's so many remixes of it that some of them are more commercial than others. I mean, the remixes that Crossdown had of it compared to what the remixes the Ministry, and I'm not judging any of them.
yeah,
They're all different, but they reached a bigger market, and
yeah.
subsequently,
Different audiences. Yeah, and that's
yeah,
Damien Lazarus, isn't it, from Crosstown?
Crossdown Rebels, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that picked that up on. Um, I guess from that time in Mish Mash, is there still things from that journey that influence your music today?
Yes, well, I think there's some, what would I say? I think with Mish Mash, it gave you confidence to try things, that were. So yeah, it was a. I used to go out and go and right round Soho and go on to all the different kinds of shops. So I go into what my favourite hip hop shop was and my favourite house place because a lot of people had identified where you got the best of that genre in there. So I used to come back in and it was a mishmash of records and you just I thought, right, this is I can I can picture what this is going to sound like tonight. So it was never planned. It was just really, let's go with this. And I think that allows you to be brave, take more
Hmm.
risks,
Yeah, yeah.
and also as well, as I've got older, I realised, I used to have this panic, oh, it needs to go out now, oh, this needs to be perfect, and this needs to be, it's like chill, just everything will find its own time
Yeah.
to find its audience, so that's what I feel. So I feel it gave me confidence to try a few things that just maybe that I wouldn't have done if I just stuck to playing house music.
And I guess that leads us on to the current projects, the Souls. Tell us about that, a bit about that, and what you're doing with that.
Well, there's an album of material that I'm really, really proud of, and I, I released a couple of snippets, and I put them through a couple of agencies to get feedback from, and they're really good. And then I put it out. One track I was really proud of, and Nick Grimshaw played it when he had his evening show on Radio One, and but things have just changed as far as just how the best way to get the record out to the wider audience. So I'm ready to start releasing some things again. A couple of things have happened. I've started doing a few private parties in London, and when the opportunity came with you guys to reunite with Harry to come down there,
Yeah.
it feels just right that I will get that stuff out, and I feel it will still have relevance.
Brilliant. I'm looking forward to that. And I guess that leads you know Dunoon. You have a connection to Dunoon. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I love Dunoon. It's my happy place. I've got a little loft up there, and it's the lovely Cliff. He's Linda, and I know you know these people.
Yeah, yeah,
He designed a little loft in it with my mother-in-law's place, and up there is. I went round all the. I used to love all the charity shops, and
right.
the observer. The observer, the kind of snips used to be bigger, and it used to have these. So I made a studio. I got a brilliant set of speakers. I had my own mixer, but I got an amp. I got all these different things for about £100. Really
Right,
nice, and including the brackets to go on the brickwork, so I could just
right.
have it right there. And I've
Yeah,
got it there, and I've got so many of my records there, and I've got all my tapes from right back, all my CDs, everything. So the loft is little kind of man cave of music, and so I loved it, and I loved all that about it. But I love the community. We've been part of it now for the best part over maybe 23 years. So the
mm,
likes of Blacks and the Vintners and all these different places, which I hope they're all going to come, and just everybody in there. Yeah, it's just it feels like a second home, really.
that's absolutely brilliant to hear. Well, we're so looking forward to the night. I know the town, I know the dancers, I know the people that are going to come out. They're going to absolutely have a ball with you two curating the music for the night. This is going to be one for the ages. Hopefully, one that we'll maybe do again in the future. I think I
Well,
want to open the door here. I think
I would, I
there's
would,
opportunities.
yeah, absolutely. I'd love that. And I've been hearing a little rumor about certain other people from Glasgow that are thinking are doing projects around there. And I
Yeah.
spoke to them the other night, and I was just because any project's daunting. And I
Uh-huh.
said, you do something of quality in this place, and people will get behind you. If you, the
Yeah.
prime example is, the Vintners,
Yeah. Yeah.
with Andy and Scott, what they're
Yeah.
creating down there, and
That's
all the
right.
other places. I mean,
Yeah.
even boil it right down to Anselmo's is a fantastic fish and chip shop, so everybody
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Black's is a fantastic place to go and have a
Knowing the
beer.
world over, they're known the world over, Oscar.
Well,
Yeah,
this is it, and you've got it's. it's just such a hop and a skip from Glasgow, and it feels
Yeah,
a million miles away. So hopefully but hopefully this is something that everybody's going to enjoy first and foremost, and then it can kickstart something. Or I know you've had Slam down there, so obviously people know their stuff and get
yeah,
behind
that's
projects.
right. Yeah, yeah, good stuff. Okay, we'll look forward to seeing you on Friday the 19th of December at Dunoon Burgh Hall. Thanks again,
My
Oscar.
pleasure. Cheers. Pleasure, Greg. All the best.